Okay, for the archer spells we have Dart, which is pretty unremarkable. It's the early spell. It is the longest ranged first spell out of the 6 characters, which gives you a little bit of a advantageous boost there, but again it's one you're going to be dropping almost as soon as you get a new one. Ripple is one of the weirder sort of pushy spells the archer gets. It'll find its way to the enemy that's furthest away and do the damage to them, which can be useful in the right circumstances. It's nice to have around at the very least, but it's not one you're going to be relying on entirely. Here we have the first Force spell for the archer, which moves enemies around the battlefield. I don't find them too useful. They're they're very hard to get working in the way you want them to work most of the time, and when they do work they're not going to help you a great deal. You'd be better off doing proper damage. These are meant to do damage as well, but they very rarely do, so you just end up pushing the enemy back a bit. All in all, I don't like these in general. Force, you might get some use out of, but it's not one I'd recommend. I'd just stick with general attacks, to be honest. Arrow is the next step up general attack spell from Dart, which is actually quite good. For a level 3 spell, it's one you'll be relying on for quite a long time. Ambush is one of the scatter spells that I think most classes get at least one of these. That one is one of the more useful ones for the level you get it, so that's worth having around. And in the next level up you get another scatter spell, which is Surround. Again, that's not so bad, does quite a bit of damage, decent amount of damage for the number you get, definitely. That's actually one of the more handy ones that you'll get for that level. Dizzy is a push enemies around the screen spell again. The archer gets tons of these. This one doesn't do an awful lot. It should be doing damage as well, but no. Most of the ones that should do damage don't when it comes to pushy spells, but that's fine. Brand is the next level up from Arrow. This one actually does really decent damage. It's one you'll be using for a lot longer than Arrow at the very least, because another decent one doesn't come up for quite a few levels. But when you're fighting one enemy, you'll be going for Blow. Blow will do more than a couple of hits from Brand. If you get a lucky Brand in, then it's more effective, but that's a safer opportunity. That's a safer bet for a single enemy attack. Multi-target spells now. We've got Tempest. This one isn't great. It doesn't do an awful lot of damage in the grand scheme of things. You'll find that the next one you get for Feather, Tornado, is miles better than this one, and you'd probably be better off sticking with Brand now that I think about it, in most circumstances. Stream is another scatter spell, but it is nowhere near as good as Surround. Yeah, you'd be much better off using Surround. You'd have to get a perfect stream in to get decent damage out of it, and that very rarely happens. Stick with Surround. Fling is the more effective of the pushy spells, except you get it so late in the game that you won't even be needing spells like this anymore. Push them away quite a bit, but at this stage you're going to be worrying about attacks they can do while standing still, so good, but a bit too late. Tornado is one of the better spells the archer gets. it's another multi-hit spell, and it actually does decent damage, like really decent damage. That's one you definitely want to pick up as soon as you can get around to it. And Implode. This is another single target spell. It's a next step up from Blow. This one being extremely useful against single targets. It does well. It's well worth it in damage terms. Definitely want to keep that one in mind. Fire is another multi-target spell, which is the next step up from Tornado. You'll find this does slightly more damage, not an awful lot more, but I've always found that one a bit risky. I've known it fail in more than one occasion, so keep that in mind. If that happens quite a lot, you might want to fall back on Tornado in the end. Shield is a weird spell. You'll shield an ally, as the name suggests, but what it actually does is kind of beyond me. You'll survive a lot of attacks, definitely, but it's weird. It doesn't get used by enemies a lot, even though it could make the game 10 times more challenging. And maybe I think it's just a spell that blocks most hits. It's not really one I've experimented with a lot. If the enemy gets one off, and I think they do from time to time, your best bet is probably like scatter spells to get around it, if you still want to do any damage at all. And that's all I have to say on it, really. It's really a bit of a mystery to me. Unshield, obviously, one I can't really use because this enemy isn't likely to use shield. But that removes a shield. That's the main way you want to get around a shield if they use one. But again, shields are so niche that you'll probably never see what this looks like. Propel is a really interesting spell. It's a frenzy kind of spell for the archer. I always overlook this one because you don't get to level 9, by which time you're sort of over the frenzy spell stage, but it's not bad. There's a fair bit of damage going on there. It's good. It's good. It's just sort of, it's weird to find a frenzy spell at level 9. You sort of expect to have like really flashy things, but there's no denying that's a good spell. It's a bit unreliable, perhaps, but keep it in mind, definitely. Defend is such an overpowered spell. Level 9, but you're giving half your team, if not, well, random team members, the shield boost. If that works on the right team members, you can pretty much win anything, I reckon. I mean, I don't think enemies know on shield. I can't say I use shield often enough to find out, but I would think that was unlikely, in which case having half a team on shield status would be very useful, especially if you can do all that in one go. And now we get onto these archer's ultimate spell, Twister, which I have probably seen the least of out of all the ultimate spells, even though it is quite good. I mean, I wiped out 2 enemies straight off the bat there. I think it's often off the radar because it's the one you never see enemies use. There aren't really any high level enemy archers in the game apart from the last one, and she doesn't seem to use it ever. But it is a good one. It's one that can... It's one of the hard... Well, I don't know if they all do the same amount of damage, but that one definitely seemed to be able to wipe out an entire enemy force all by itself. So, there we go. Ultimate Archer spell there.